we are going to do a step-by-step tutorial of the Dotty cowl. The pattern and some pictures are in the link in the bio. But we're gonna just talk about the first 6 rows because this seems to be where most people get hung up and quit. So we're gonna talk about what goes into the first 6 rows. Once you've mastered that, then you can create the entire cowl. So we will do step-by-step, row by row instructions, and you can reference each row by clicking in the video. We're going to do some more contrasting colors, so just white and blue. You're going to start with your contrasting color, which is either of the colors, and in this case it's going to be my white. You're going to use I have a 3.5 millimeter. I can't remember what the pattern calls for right now, but this is what I have. So you're going to start by chaining 150 chains, and I'll show you just a couple, and then I'm going to skip ahead and show you how we connect them in a loop. So you're going to cross over, pull through, cross over, pull through, we'll get closer, cross over, pull through. Okay, so I have chained on 150, and I'm going to show you now how you slip stitch to create a loop. So you're going to not lose your stitch here. You're going to find the first stitch in the beginning of your chain. In this case, it's right here. So you're going to take your working stitch and then just slip it. So you're going to pull the yarn through the first stitch, and then you're going to pull it through the last stitch. So now they're hooked together and you have created a chain. Stitches. So we're going to start round 1 now, working with the same contrasting color. You're going to begin by chaining 4 up, and this is going to act as your first double crochet and chain 1 in your V-stitch, which you will see a little bit later. So as you can see, I just chained 4. I'm going to now enter my hook into this first chain, which is the same one that we slip stitched into. So I'm actually going to cross over because we're going to do a double crochet into this first chain. So you're going to do your double crochet here, and this is your first V-stitch. Now we're going to work all the way around doing the same V-stitch pattern. We're going to skip 2 stitches here, and we're going to insert our hook into the 3rd stitch with a double crochet. Now this row is going to be your hardest row because you have nothing to hold on to. So be gracious with yourself on this stage. The further you work, the easier it will go. You'll have more to hold on to. You're going to chain 1 after you do your double crochet, and then you're going to do another double crochet in the same chain that you did the last one. So now you can see our first V-stitch and then our second V-stitch. Now we're going to do that all the way around. I'll show you again. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches, these 2, and you're going to insert it into the 3rd chain. It's tricky because these little chains rotate on you. At this point, you don't need to worry about your project rotating. When you go to connect at the end of this stage, the end of this round, when you go to connect here, you want to make sure that you are not rotating your work, or otherwise you're not going to have a perfectly round product. Okay, so I'm going to chain 1 here, And then I will show you again a little closer. So we're going to skip the next, so this is the chain that we just entered into. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and go into the 3rd stitch. And here's where we'll do our V-stitch. So we'll double crochet twice into this same chain here. We'll go back into that chain for our next. Okay, so you're gonna go around. You want to have your product look like this all the way around. Okay, I've reached the end of my row, my round 1, and now it's time to slip stitch. Before you slip stitch to your starting chain, it's important now to check that you are not twisting your work. So I will put together my 2 pieces flat together and then pull them down and just make sure that there's not a twist in your work. So now I know that there's no twists, and I'm ready to slip stitch into the 3rd chain. So remember here I chained 4. I'm going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. So this is my 3rd chain. I'm going to put my hook in there and do a slip stitch. Okay, at this point we're going to insert a stitch marker into our chain here. Now we're going to add in our main color, and you might notice in the pattern at this point it says do not turn. So we were working this direction and we're going to continue working this direction. You can see our starting V chain. It looks a little different than this one, which is a little neater looking. So you're actually going to enter your hook into this chain back here, and this is just going to start your main color. So you're going to pull it through this chain. It is considered the last base chain of your initial 150. So now you have your tail and you have your working yarn, and here you're going to repeat round 1. So we're going to chain 4 just like we did in round 1, and we are going to enter our hook around, or sorry, into the same stitch now that we just pulled our yarn into. Okay, so in through here, and you are going to double crochet into that last chain of your starting 150. So this is the first V stitch now in our main color, and then in the space between your V stitches, so this is our V stitch, this is our V stitch, in the space between you're going to put another V stitch in your main color. Chain 1 and another double crochet in the same chain. Oops. Okay. So now you have a little piece of your V stitch of the contrasting color peeking through between your 2 V stitches in your main color. We're going to do the same thing going all the way around, and you notice how we're creating two different panels here, 2 different pieces, because we are working in the bottom and not the top, so we're creating 2 different pieces. Okay, I'll show you a few more, and then we'll pick up again at the end of the row to see what we do there. All right, so we go in between our V-stitches. We'll double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet in the same spot. And we'll find our space between our V-stitches, which is here. We'll double crochet into this space. Oops. Let's try that again. So now you can see the same pattern repeating. So here I finished round 2 with the main color. I've gone all the way around, and as you can see, you've worked 2 rows, 2 rounds in sort of parallel out of the same starting chain. So now we're going to slip stitch to connect our main colors, and we're going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from our chain 4 at the beginning of this round. So we have 1, 2, 3. We're going to go into the 3rd chain here, and we're going to just slip it, and that closes it. Now, round 3 is the first round of our repeating pattern. So the majority of your cowl is going to repeat rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6. So at this point, you've just created the beginning structure of your piece, and now we're going to start the repeating pattern. So round 3, we are going to turn our work. So now we have our contrasting color side facing us, but we are going to be working with our main color still. You're going to chain 4, and now we're going to work into the first V-stitch of our contrasting color. So you're going to double crochet straight into this and straight into the next row, which if we looked at it, our V-stitch is here, and there's another V-stitch hiding back there. We're going to go into the space directly behind, which is the space between V-stitches. So in this row, you're going to go through your contrasting color, which is the side facing V-stitch, and then the space between V-stitches on the back row. Now this is the first V-stitch of this row. We're going to do another one where we go into the V-stitch of our contrasting or our white, and then we want to go into the space between V-stitches, so not in here. This is our V-stitch. We want to go into the space directly behind. We're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. I'll show you this again, and then we'll look at the back to see how it looks on the back. So we're going to find our next V-stitch, which is this one here. You're going to go directly through both layers, seeing how it goes through the back. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet through the same spot. Let's do it again. You're going to go through both layers, the space between V-stitches on the back, and directly through the V-stitch on the front. Double crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet in the same spot. So let's look at the back. This is our front first, and this is our back. Okay, so we're going to go all the way around doing the same pattern. And once we finish going all the way around, we're going to connect here again and we'll start round 4. All right, I have reached the end of our round 3. Now we need to slip stitch into the 3rd chain of our beginning chain 4. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3. Sorry, that was incorrect. Let me show you again. Let's get this out of the way. We have 1, 2, 3. So we're going to chain into our 3rd chain, or we're going to slip stitch into our 3rd chain, and then we're going to. All right, and starting round 4, we're going to work in the same direction that we were just working in, so we're not going to turn our work here. We are going to chain 4, and now we're going to work in the space between our V-stitches. So we have 2 V-stitches, we would be working in this space here. But for the starting, we're going to work over here, and I'm going to show you what we're going to be working through. So we're going to put our hook underneath this space here, and then if you look on the back, it should be poking out on this side of the post in the middle of a V-stitch. So there's a V-stitch on the back here. It's going directly through there. So we're going to double crochet into this space. I'll show you a little closer on the next one. And that creates our first V. And it's opposite now from the V-stitch in the same color down here. So we have this V-stitch, and now we have this V-stitch, and we're going to have one over here. So it's going to be an alternating pattern. So let me show you again where we're going to enter our hook. So we want to put it in the space between our V-stitches, and if you look on the back side, it's going to be in the middle of a V-stitch. So this is our V-stitch here, and your hook should be coming right through the middle. And then pulling it up, so now it's on your hook like this. Up here, here's a V-stitch, and here's a V-stitch. So you're coming up through the space between 2 V-stitches, just like how you entered down here between 2 V-stitches. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we'll double crochet, chain 1, and then in the same place, double crochet to create another V-stitch. I'll do it again. Over here, we're going to go in the space between our V-stitches, and on the other side, it is in the middle of a V-stitch. You're going to come up through the space between V-stitches, and then you're going to double crochet to put your V-stitches in this space. Chain 1, so now when we're looking at it, whoops, from this side, you can start to see this pattern forming where our V-stitches are alternating by row, and the little contrasting color on each side is going to be opposites. Down, up, down, up, down. So if we look on the other side, it's still pretty early on to see a lot of pattern here, but down below would be our first little contrasting mark, and so it would be alternating here. And our V-stitches are also alternating. Okay, So we're going to keep going in this same pattern all the way around, and then I will show you how to end round 4 and we will start round 5. You notice too that in round 4 we are creating a parallel round just like we did between rounds 1 and 2. Let me finish this V-stitch and then I'll show you what I mean. So you can see that there's 2 parallel rows because we're working in the front post just like we did down here on rows 1 and 2. So you should not see these 2 connecting here at the top. All right, so I have finished now round 4, and I'm going to slip stitch to my first chain here. I'm going to find the 3rd stitch, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to slip stitch to close that off. And that completes round 4. Round 5, we're going to continue working with this contrasting color, except now we are going to turn our work. Now it's tricky when you turn your work and you're working with 2 colors of yarn because your yarn is going to get tangled up. So just try to keep track of your yarn. Okay, so starting in round 5, we are going to chain 4. And looking just at the pattern here, we want our white to be alternating from our row down. So that would put it right in between the V-stitch of our main color. So you're going to double crochet directly into this first V-stitch and into the back of the space between V-stitches. And that creates your first V-stitch of round 5. Now it's going to keep going around where you go into the V-stitch, and looking back here, you see a V-stitch. You're going to go in the space next to it, so in between 2 V-stitches on the back. Let's finish this one. Chain 1, and we'll do a couple more and then we will look at the pattern again. So directly into the V-stitch, to the back, to the space between V-stitches, chain 1, my yarn's getting tangled with my project and with the other yarn. Let's do one more. So we're going to go into this V-stitch and into the space behind, which is between 2 V-stitches. Chain 1. Now let's look at our pattern. So you can see now how it alternates. And on this side, you can see how our V-stitches are alternating. Okay, so you're going to continue with this pattern all the way around, and then we will finish round 5 and start round 6. All right, so I've reached the end of row 5. We are going to slip stitch into our 3rd. 1, 2, 3 stitch of our starting chain. And now we begin round 6. Row 6 is a lot like row 4, where we're going to take our marker off of the main color and put it onto our contrasting color. Now we're done with it. We just did 2 rows with this color, and now we're gonna work with this color. Chaining 4. And here we're gonna work again like we did on row 4 through the space between our V-stitches and all the way through to the middle of a V-stitch. I'm gonna show you again. So we'll go in and up, and then we will do our double crochet. And that's our first V-stitch on row 6. Now we're going to be working in the front loops, meaning that this round is going to not connect with the round behind it. See that? They're working in parallel. Okay, I will get close again so you can see where I'm inserting my hook. So we're going to go between V-stitches straight through, and on the other side you can see that it's in the middle of a V-stitch here. You want to be careful. Oh, I see what I just did here. My contrasting color that I was just working with is being caught up in the stitches that I just made. So we need to take those out, and we need to make sure that this stays out of the way. So you can pull it over here, bring it to the front, whatever you need to do to keep it out of the way. Okay, so we'll try that again. So we've still got our V-stitch from our beginning V-stitch, and now we're going to work in here. So we'll go between our V-stitches into this V-stitch on the other side. Oh, no. And then, sorry, up through this post, and that's where we create our V-stitch. Chain 1, bring it through the same space, and we have another V-stitch here. And on the back, our contrast color. So we'll go in through there and up to our double crochet, our chain 1, same space, a double crochet, and that creates another V. I've now come around the end of round 6, and I'm going to slip stitch to the third, 1, 2, 3, third chain, and this finishes round 6. We are going to be starting again at round 3, and so if you look at round 2, it says to turn. So at the end of round 6, we're going to turn. You want to have your contrasting color facing forward starting round 3 again. So here you would begin round 3, and you can reference back in the video to remember how to do round 3. But you're going to continue to work up from here, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, and then begin again, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6. I hope you found this video helpful. Comment with any questions, but this is what your final product, at least until round 6, should look like. I'm going to talk real quick about edging. So assuming that we were at the end of our project, in the pattern it says that you can either edge with one color or you can choose to edge with both colors. I think might just be my yarn, but both colors feels too bulky for my project, so I'm going to opt for one. In this case, I'm going to take just my contrasting color. I'm going to pull it through so I don't have a unfinished loop here, and then I'm going to follow the pattern using just my white. So in this pattern it says with either side facing, so you can either have your main color facing or you can work with your contrasting color facing. It doesn't matter. So we're going to do a single crochet in the first space. So that would be the first V space, and in the space directly behind it, which is the space between V's, you're going to chain one. In the next space, we're going to we're going to single crochet two. In the next space, we're going to single crochet one. And in the next space, we're going to single crochet two. And you'll continue this all the way around, and then we have one more round to finish this edging on the top. When you come to the end of your single stitches, we're going to slip stitch in the front loop only all the way around. So slip all the way around. Now to finish the bottom edging, you want to have the same side of your project facing you that you did when you edged the top. And you want to use the same color. So I used the contrasting color. So you're going to use your contrasting color. Find any stitch along the bottom, join your color in, and then you're going to do single stitches starting in the next. Chain down here. You're going to do single stitches in all 150 chains that you started your project in. When you come to the beginning, when you come full circle, you're going to slip stitch to the starting stitch here, and then you are going to similarly, you're going to stitch into the front loop only all the way around, just like you did up here. And then you're finished with your project.